Thanks, Hamish, and thanks, panel. Well, it's official. The Liberal Party has joined the global economic consensus. Debt and deficits don't matter. $1 trillion net debt. Who cares? Let the good times roll. It's well below the US, Japan and Europe. So what do we care? Do we care? Modern monetary theory. Let those printing presses roll. Let that helicopter money come down, dribbling down on all of us. Wonderful, that's wonderful. But to what extent are we pushing this out for the next generation to deal with? And quite frankly, there's a few of them sitting right here in front of me, and there's quite a few of them in the panel here. So I think, is that something that we should be concerned about?
Jane Hume.
Well, I think that this is definitely a pandemic budget, but it's a budget that is there to build the economy, it's to create jobs, it's to guarantee the essential services that Australians rely upon, and it's to keep Australians safe and secure. Now, last year, which was the most difficult year for so many people and for so many economies, we supported the Australian economy with $290 billion worth of economic support. And I think that using the government's fiscal strength, fiscal balance sheet, was the right thing to do. And just looking around the room tonight and seeing 500 people gathered together in a room, no masks, not a mask in sight, we must be one of the only economies that can get away with this right now. You know, the pandemic is still raging around the world. Around 800,000 cases are diagnosed every single day.
But hang on, who's getting away with it? Someone's going to pay for all of this in the end. Isn't it going to be the young people here?
But this budget is all about our next phase of our economic recovery, making sure that we grow the economy, making sure that we keep Australians safe, making sure that we guarantee the essential services. We're not out of the woods yet. We have to make sure that that economic growth that we've seen, which has been fantastic, 3% in two consecutive quarters, unemployment coming back to levels below that of prior to the pandemic. That's fantastic, but it has to be sustainable. We have to make it secure, and we have to make sure that the economy is robust enough to maintain that economic growth into the future.
Okay, it's clear that's what the government's message is. There's a huge number of young people here tonight. We've been inundated with questions about whether young people are going to be paying off this debt. Of the young people here, who's concerned about the level of debt that we're talking about, $1 trillion ultimately? Show of hands. And could you keep your hands up if you think it's going to fall on your shoulders to pay this off? So all of you, more of you in fact. Jim Chalmers, this is $1 trillion debt generation that's just been created. You don't have a different answer, do you?
Well, I think it does matter that we've got $1 trillion of debt in the budget. And I think what matters most is that we actually try and have something to show for all of that money that's been borrowed. My concern about the budget was that there's not enough to show for $1 trillion in debt, not enough to show for $100 billion in new spending in one night earlier on this week. I think our obligation to the young people in this audience, but to all Australians right around the country, is to spend that money wisely, particularly if it's borrowed money, to recognise that if we're going to borrow all that money, it needs to build something that lasts for you. We're right to see this budget and this moment in generational terms. We should be thinking...
Don't you also owe it to them, to be honest, that it will be them that pays this off?
It will be. There will be debt in the budget for generations. And there's no use sugarcoating that. Debt will be with us for some time. And the obligation we have to those generations is to see it in generational terms. This is a massive moment for our country. And we can't wake up in 10 or 20 years down the track and think that all we have to show for this moment that we've been through, after everything we've been through together, and wake up and think that the only legacy of this period was that debt. We can do better than that.
I want to find Sophie Thorpe, who's in our studio audience. She's a Canberra high school student. I think you're in year 12, you're 17. What do you make of the debt levels? How do you feel about it?
I'm just really worried because, I've seen the job trainer scheme and I think it's fantastic, but I'm scared it won't be enough. And I worry for my younger cousins, I worry for my children to come as well, and me especially. Are we going to be enough in the workforce to pay it off? What's it going to come to?
In terms of the numbers that we're talking about, do you believe it will be your generation that shoulders this?
Absolutely. We're going to head it off and it's just going to keep on coming.
Sophie, can I jump in there? I left university in 1992 and I walked straight into the recession that we had to have. And at that stage, youth unemployment was so high, and it actually took 10 years for the economy to recover. What we're seeing now is employment bouncing back really quickly to below levels that we saw even prior to the pandemic. That's terrific. That's
But
really
hang on,
encouraging
for young
news.
people, the youth unemployment is 16.4%.
But it's coming down, which is really exciting, and we believe that by pushing unemployment lower than 5%, when I was at university, 5% unemployment was full employment. I think that's showing my age, but if we can get that unemployment levels below 4%, that'll increase wage rises, and we believe that that's the way to make sure that the economy is sustainable, making sure that everybody that wants a job has a job, that everybody that wants to increase their hours, increase their days, can increase their hours.
Jacqui Lambie, this is a debt generation, isn't it? I mean, for everything nice that we might be saying to Sophie right now, they've just been lumped with paying this off, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm not going to be polite about it. You're going to be paying off a debt, sweetheart. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and I don't expect these people to turn around in 10 years like they say they're going to. I just think that's really unrealistic. And first of all, what else bothers me is your university fees are going up. They certainly haven't chucked any more in towards that either. I'm really concerned about a lot of you, probably not in Canberra because I've seen your house prices, they're disgusting. But, you know, in other places where, especially in Tasmania, where these guys have been able to have their $25,000 loan from the state government and the one from the federal government, and that's given them a deposit. And right now, interest loans are sitting there. They're going to be paying them off for the next 25 years. I worry that, you know, will that go back up? I lived through a generation where my mum and dad, I watched them when I was 12 or 13. They were working 2 jobs just to pay their 18% that their house loans had gone up to. So it really bothers me a great deal. In saying that though, you know, look at aged care, look at the women's services that they've put out there, the childcare, things like that. This is something that should have been done a long time ago. Money should have been spent on aged care, especially. It should have started many years ago, and we would actually be saving in the long run. We are so far behind, and to generate and just continue to trickle money into these sectors when it should have been done a long time ago.